and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this is going to be the next part of our Notes app series. So in this video we are going to implement the Room database. We might have implemented Room in Android previously, but this time we are going to implement it on iOS. There has been slight changes or like slight sort of configuration that we will be doing differently than for Android. If you remember the Android implementation, we have a couple of things. For example, we have an entity, which is the table. This is going to be same. We have a DAOs that we use to basically insert or get data from the database or the table. We will have the similar thing over here as well. And we also used to have a database class that basically handles all the database related stuff for us, which is going to be similar. What's different is a little bit of extra configuration, a little bit of extra stuff that we need for Android and iOS. In this, we will be doing that, and I think that's pretty much what we have. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just get started and implement the database functionality so we can store our notes rather than getting it destroyed every time we rerun the app. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we implement that? So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to add a couple of dependencies for a Room database, and along with that we need to do some sort of other stuff. We will need some extra stuff to do that. So I'm gonna paste a couple of dependencies over here. You can use the GitHub repository for that. I'll basically be added in the description. From where you can access this file and add these dependencies as per the need. Yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is basically to have a relevant dependency for Room database, and I'm gonna just paste that over here. Okay, so these are the three things that we need for Room. One is the Room SQLite for Android, and then we have a KSP. So these are the three dependencies that we'll be using. Along with that, we'll definitely be having some sort of other properties like this. So we have a bundle, runtime, and compiler. Along with that, there is just one more thing, that is a SQLite wrapper for Android. This is basically an Android specific dependency that we'll be using. And then along with that, we also have these two properties over here that we'll be using. So these are some stuff that we need. So once we do that, we'll just sync that so that we can start accessing these from the other part of the app. So that's done. Now we go over here into the Compose app. Okay, build.gradle.kts file. This is the file that we need to add some sort of dependence. So the first thing is basically we'll be using an alias for the Room. So I'm gonna say libs.plugins.androidx.room. That's one thing, and also we need to have the KSP for this. So these are the two things that we need over here. And once you add this dependency, let's say if I sync, it will fail and it will complain about a couple of things. Okay, so it's complaining that you need to define some sort of room/directory for this to use. So we are gonna use that. I'm gonna say room, and then inside that we'll be using schema directory like this, and then over here we'll be using project directly /schema. So this is something we need to do, and this time when I try again, you will see that it will be working fine and work like a charm. Okay, so that's done. Now the next thing would be to implement the relevant dependencies for this project. So now over here, these are the two dependencies for this, and there is just one Android specific, like I mentioned, the wrapper for the SQLite. We should add that to the system, and once you add that, we will sync that. And now this time when I sync it, I'll make sure everything is working. So I'll just keep on running the project as well. It's working, so which is good. Now the next thing that we need to do is basically to define the compiler for the projects, like the configurations that we have. So now if you get over here, you will see we have some configuration. For example, for Android target, we have Android, and then we have iOS ARM64, and we have simulator ARM64. Okay, so we need to add a compiler to basically handle these configuration of these platforms. Okay, so For that, what I need is I need this properties like this. And let's say you have, desktop. Later on you add desktop or web. For that you need to definitely define those configurations over here as well. I'm since using just Android and iOS, so I'll just add this. And if you add anything extra over here, it will complain, so make sure to use the relevant. And then the next thing would be to basically sync everything. Fine. Okay, so everything is done here. We have our own implementation ready. Now what we need to do is that we need to implement the database. Okay, so the first thing to implement the database is to get over here and define an entity. That is important for us, and along with that we need to define an id. Wall id along equals to 0. But along with that, what I want is that I want that to be primary key as well for me, and auto generated as well, so that it doesn't, create problems. Okay, so this will basically be helping me to create that id for me, and it will auto generate. I don't have to add, manually handle that. This is very common practice for room database. Okay, the next thing is basically to have some other stuff. So I'm gonna say db for myself over here. This means that now I'm starting creating database, and this database, the first thing in this database class is the DAO. So I'm gonna say DAO is going to be not DAO class. And as I said, we need to import that over here. Along with that, we need to do some functionality. For example, selecting everything from notes, getting all the notes, and also we will be using an insert property. Let's use this. Okay, so now we have these two things that are there. We'll be using most probably these two in this function, this specific implementation. We'll do the rest later on. Okay, the next thing is basically the database class. Like I said, we need a node database class for ourselves, and we make sure this is an abstract, and it also implement room database. Okay, and what else is there? Yeah, we need to make sure we make it a database annotation for ourselves, and this is like that. Second thing is basically we need to define the entities that we have. So basically we have a nodes entity. We are not gonna use the view for this, and we also need to import that node class. So that is done, and we need an abstract method for node DAO inside this, which is also we have added. Okay, now along with that we also need, since basically this is Android, oh sorry, this is KMP, we need to have a constructor. So we need to say as construct with, and over here we need to define, some sort of constructed by, sorry. So it's constructed by, and over here we need to define a constructor for that, and we don't have that. So I'm going to say expect function, expect class, that is going to be node database constructor. Okay, and that is going to be room database constructor, and should be node database like this, and it should also override the initialize functionalities like this. Okay, so this is going to be a room like handled by room. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna suppress this warning so that it doesn't complain about this to me, and something like this. So once you do that, now we need to define that as class, and I think this is something that we have done. Now last thing is to define a functionality that says get database, or let's call it get node database, and it should be requiring a builder for this. Okay, and that builder is supposed to be the node database builder. Okay, and once we have that, we are gonna say builder dot build, but before that, you need to define node database as return as well. Now we need to define, set sort of driver for this, and you can say SQL something like this. We also need the coroutine context, which is going to be dispatchers.io, and this builder will make sure to do that. So now what we need to do is that we need to basically do a couple of platform specific things in order to get our database ready. So for that, what I need to do is that we need to go to Android main like this. And now inside that, let's create a file and call it get database builder. Okay. And this is going to be a file, and it's going to say get database builder, and it should be returning you our room database builder for node like this. Okay, and this, and also it should contain a context for Android to work. Since it's Android specific, that's why we are using this. I'm going to say wall app context is equals to context dot application context, and then over here I'm going to say wall db path is equals to app, something like this. And then lastly we will be implementing this. So this is for Android. Okay, and we are gonna do the same for iOS as well. So we'll get over here into this get database builder, but this time for definitely for iOS we'll be not using all these contacts and all that. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. The rest of the stuff should be like it is. Okay, and instead I'm gonna say get document path plus slash something like this. And we also don't need this. Instead I'm going to say name is equals to db path. Okay, now we need a function that says get document path for me, and this is going to be a string. So that's that. I'm going to say return, and over here I'm going to say ns file manager dot default dot url directory. And now over here inside that you can just do something as this. I'm gonna say ns document directory for this, and we also need ns user domain mask like this. Okay, and say wall document directory like this. Okay, and now I'm gonna say return document directory dot path like this. Okay, it's an experimental, so we need to import that as well, and now we have these things ready. So that's done, and the next thing now would be to basically implement that or like use that in a actual setup, right? Like over here. So over here I'm gonna say node database like this, and instead of that I'm gonna say wall DAO is equals to node database dot node DAO. It's definitely going to be private for this. And now over here, instead of using this, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say get all nodes like this, right? And also I'm gonna say view model scope dot launch, and I'm gonna say DAO dot insert node and this. So basically what I did is now basically I took out the local stuff and change it with the local database for me, so that we can access it easily, clearly. And now this home view model needs this database, so we need to pass this nodes database. We don't have a way how to do that, so basically to handle that I'm going to say that we get something from over here from the app side and pass that. Okay, now when I run it you will see that it will complain. There's definitely okay, think something is wrong here. Okay, so this is going to be an object. Make sure this is an object. Try again. Okay, now when I try, it's complaining that you need to pass something like this. Okay, which is fine. So over here, I'm gonna say database is this, and this at main activity. You can do the same over here. I'm gonna say wall, and you can say local context.current for this, and then pass that database into this. So this will basically make sure that the database functionality is done. Okay, and okay, it's justified. Now basically this is complaining. It's saying that you need to define some sort of initial value, which is definitely fine. Now I think we are good. This time when I run the Android Studio, we should be able to see that. Now we have here, let me just add some stuff, and this is the first element. Let's hope it stays here even if we close the app. Okay, now I've added, now it's there. Now let me just close the app, try to reopen. This time you will see that it's there. Just close that, reopen, you'll see it's there. Now let's just add another one. We added this. Now you will see that the database is working perfectly fine. Okay, now let's just try it for iOS as well, right? Because without iOS it doesn't make sense. Okay, now the iOS has also failed, and the reason for iOS is because again it has the same problem. We need to initialize that. So we get over here in the main controller, and over here it's not complaining over here, but it should be something as gets node database and get database builder. You need to make sure to do this. Okay, so now iPhone 16, it's running. We are over here. Okay, now let's just try adding. Okay, this is the first item to add to the phone storage so it doesn't get deleted. Okay, so I've added this. You can see that it's there. Now let me just kill that. Okay, now reopen that. You will see it's still there. Kill that. It's still there. Now let's just add another one. Another one into the database. Right, let's just save that. Now you can see we have two. Okay, try again, still there. Try again, it's there. Which means everything is working as expected, and this is how basically we wanted this. So that's pretty much it for this video. In this video what we did is basically we implemented the room database for KMP. So in the next video, what we are going to do is that we are going to implement some of the other functionality as well. For example, time, adding time to the notes. Along with that, we will also be adding, active and deactive notes, and deleted notes as well. So like these kind of things will be added into the next video. So thank you so much for watching the video. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, happy coding. Bye bye. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't forget any update. If you got any question, you can join my Discord server. The link is in the description. Also, for quick updates and tips, you can follow me on Instagram. Until next time, keep learning, keep developing. Bye.